Hey everyone, welcome to Harbor Trail. Today we're gonna review a Pan-Asia cruiser, Lanzhou, the Tier 7. So this is the reward ship for the second progression line for the most recent event pass. So if you're still debating whether to get the second event pass, hopefully you can get some idea if this is a rare ship you want or not. So for me, Lanzhou is like I say like mid to long range distance farmer. It has nine 180 mil guns, and it can pen about like 30 mil deck armor. Tier 7 then can pen most of the ships, even some of the battleships. But if you get like up tiered into tier 8 or tier 9, it's definitely gonna struggle quite a bit. And for this shape, I think the general strategy is you should try to keep yourself at mid to long distance. Don't get into like a brawl type of situation. And this is a ship that has fairly decent firing range at 17.6 base range, and then you also have the spotter plane that can increase the firing range by 20%. So that will get it to even more than 21 kilometers. The fire chance is also fairly decent. The shell arc at mid to long range is good, but it's definitely not the best. You cannot expect railgun type of fire angles on these ships. So once it gets to say beyond like 18 kilometers, the shell gonna get fairly floaty. So that's it for the ship, and we'll go through this game and give you a sense of how to play the ships and some use cases there. You can see in this ship, it caused some reasonable damage to Baltimore, which is like one tier up. Most of the 12,000 damage so far are caused on the and also a Citadel Shores, which is a tier 6. So tier 6, okay, that ship's already dead, and we're trying to focus fire on Baltimore. From this fire angle, we're probably gonna bounce off several of these AP shells, but hopefully, okay, so cause some damage there. That's like another 2,000. And if you look at the minimap right now, my ship is actually one of the back-sitting ship there, but it can still cause a good amount of damage. So the firing distance for this ship is pretty good. And my team, I think they're trying to focus into Cap D. There's a good amount of ships there, and for the opposition, they're definitely making a push on A. And see the long range distance I'm firing at, like 17.5 kilometers on the last ship. Also, my hand is 13.7, so Mutsu was like 17 kilometers away. Alright, my hand got killed. I think we're getting an upper hand on this side. Yeah, see the Mutsu is 16 kilometers, and you have to lead your shell from a reasonable kind of lead with a reasonable leadway. Otherwise, your shells will be kind of floaty at like 16 kilometers, and you have to you're gonna miss some of the shells. All right, first the fire for this game. one thing you can see is, so up to this point I had only one fire, but throughout the game, I think I caused 7 fires in this entire game. So it's a bit hit or miss of fire starting. Maybe you should put the fire signal on it. But if it's just the base set up without the signal, which is how I started this game, usually I don't put flags on, I mean the signals on in random game. But that also give you a sense of what to expect from a vanilla sense of this game. After this point, I think we're leading on health, but in terms of ships survived, we're about the same as the opposition. So, say Hawk there, and okay, so we lost one ship as well. So now we're even on ships, and that should be a perm fire. And you saw from 3 salvos, I cost 2 fires on Hawkeye, and that's causing good amount of damage. Another salvo, okay. So 3,500 damage, that's pretty decent. One comparable to Lanzhou is the Soviet light cruiser Lanzhou. It's interesting they both start with an L. I would say Lanzhou has more guns, quicker reload with the small caliber guns. So it cannot pen some of the deck armors as good as Lanzhou. You can say, okay, another fire for Lanzhou, so 5 fires now. The guns on Lanzhou can definitely pen a decent size, not only the superstructure, but also some of the decks. So from the like pure raw damage perspective, Lanzhou definitely has better case. Where Lazo, the shell, I think that it pans like 21 or 20 something, that's sub 30. So you're gonna run into a lot of bouncing shells with HE. And from a damage perspective, you see I'm already at 80,000 damage. A lot of that was caused by fire. So I would say overall, the ship has reasonable fire starting chance. It might not be super consistent throughout, but it still give you good chance to light out some fires. And I think I'm causing good amount of damage on this Duke of York. Just the fire plus also the all the pins. Wow, I think probably several of my ships eat torps together. Like we probably got deleted 20k, 30k within the matter of 5 seconds for the entire team. So now, in terms of health, we're on par with the opposition team. They have 1 extra DD, which could be a big upper hand. And the one thing to keep in mind for Lanzhou is you almost always want to keep your ship far away from enemy battleships. The armor on the Lanzhou is not super good, so if you get into like short distance, it's kind of risky. All right, another fire on Virginia 44, and wow, so then Hawkeye was sunk almost right before he ran into our Amagi. And right now we're 5-on-5, so the game has been fairly tight up to this point. And I have a lender that was trying to shoot me from the smoke behind the island. And I'm in a relatively tricky spot. I have lender to my right, and also have, okay, so well spotted sunk wood, and I have a hipper that's trying to push into me. So hipper is a tier 8, And see, when I try to launch the torp, I would imagine Hipper gonna bow in when he saw me, so I intentionally adjusted the torpedo firing angle. And that's something you always should keep in mind. So this is a 6.5 distance. Now the due between me and the Hipper, 30,000 damage with AP. Another round of salvo. Oh gosh, Lender's causing some good damage on me. Okay, wow. That's another 5k. And you see that Hipper almost killed me with his AP. I was probably having like 25 health, and I got down to like 9,000, right? So 16,000 damage. Around the same time, without the torp, I probably damaged the Hipper for, I would say, probably 10,000 damage. So once it gets to close range, like a brawl, you cannot expect to beat those like German cruisers that one tier upper. Um, but now, so we are 3 versus 4. We have 3 ships. They have 4. Wasp and Virginia, they're dying. But the Linder is almost at full health. But he's chasing by New Mexico and losing health pretty fast. I'm trying to help my New Mexico along the way. But the shell over the island didn't land very well. Another round of salvo. I think this should be able to cause some damage there. Okay, 3 HE is like 1700. Let's see what the AP can do. Alright. Hit the tail end of the ship. But the lander should be dying. I think New Mexico can catch him. But, jeez. He smoke up right before we can deal the killer blow. So the real problem right now is we have only one cap. And the West Virginia 44 is heading towards our final cap. And so we're capping A, but there's a good chance B will become contested soon enough. And we're losing on points, so they're 670 versus 480. So the biggest problem right now is we need to get more cap and also defend a cap. So that's the reason I'm trying to turn back and go to B. Also, they have extra DD. And I can almost... Okay, nice. So Linder was killed. He almost have nowhere to go in the smoke, right? So his fate is almost determined. And you see, Cap B is now being contested. And I was guessing their DD is heading that way, and that is correct. So I need to get close to Cap B, but I cannot rush into it because their West Virginia probably has a good shooting angle towards my direction. If I get out, I only have like 9,000 health. Virginia 44 can delete me in one round of shell. So I had to play carefully. Okay, so West Virginia, glad we spotted him so before before I get over the island there. Now, West Virginia is probably point its guns towards New Mexico, and that's good for me. So, yeah, see his guns pointing at New Mexico, and I will try to farm him as he's turning his guns. But his secondaries is pretty good, and I had to run away. Okay, I think we can kill him before he kills me. And I need to hide away because even my forehead armor, the bell armor, cannot tank those guns at all. And I'm pretty sure the DD was also in the cap. That's another reason I had to cut away, because if you get too close, you have no time to dodge those torps. But now, so they have 2 ships, we have 3. We're leading on health, but we're losing on points. So it is my priority to get into B. So if I were their DD, oh, so their DD got spotted. Nice. So Amalfi probably landed a good shell on him, and then I finished him off. Now they have only like a well button, and ironically, he's heading towards C, which is a bad call. He should have kited away and tried to stay alive, but the direction he's heading, like he's 1 versus 2 at C, and he will for sure be deleted. If he has run away and the torp Amalfi, maybe there's a chance he can win, because Amalfi doesn't have Hydro. Amalfi is just like 1 or 2 torps away from being killed. Okay, so he's running away now, and nice, Amalfi killed him. So it was a fairly close game until probably 3 or 4 minutes ago, but yeah, so this is the game. I'm the highest experience for the entire game. Amalfi also did a good job, and so is New Mexico. In terms of damage, you can see I have a total damage of 161, and 42 of them was from fire. In terms of ships I killed, so Heaper, I caused 9,000 damage on Heaper, while Heaper cost probably, let's see, where's Heaper there? Okay, so that's a little bit better than I thought. So Heaper cost like 6,000 damage on me. West Virginia, a lot of the damage was from an early game. In the late game, I think he only has like 2 salvos of AP shells on me, so that was not too terrible. Yeah, they sorry. So this is the damage caused to West Virginia. In terms of damage I took, so just like 1 salvo, 120, it's like 1,200 damage. Yeah, that's it. And we'll go back to the port, and I'll give a quick summary of the ship and whether you should take the ship or not. So that is the game. Back to the port, I'd say Lanzhou overall is a decent ship. The gun is definitely the strength of the ship, and you see it has a pretty decent fire range, also with a 20% improvement from the spotter plane. And this is how I would build it. Basically, using the most of the recommendation they gave on the commander skills. Um, this game didn't give me a chance to use outnumbered, but you saw like Tom Great Gunners and concealment have been like super helpful. There is no heal for this ship, so I didn't put superintendent there. Just improved the survivability, and then I did use Eye in the Sky because the I I do want to have a faster reload on this skill. So in case I have to chase the ship down or need to kite away from distance, this can help me with that. So, and in terms of upgrade, these are pretty typical, nothing like too strange there. I would say for the weakness of the ship, you definitely need to keep an eye on enemy fires coming your way. So maybe there's some value in using like econ fire alert instead of gun feeder, or you take out outnumbered, which frees up 4 skill point, and then you put either 3 skills in heavy HE, and then put a incoming fire alert, or you put some skills on demolition expert because the firing chance, which is already still decent, but it doesn't hurt for you to bump that a bit more. Um, but back to the weakness of the ship, you see the ship has a really long hull, also has like a very long citadel with a weak armor. Also the armors for the gun are pretty weak as well. So that's another thing you need to keep in mind. The deporter torpedo is nice, but the reload for that is pretty long, right? So one ship I always compare the Lanzhou 2 is the Lanzhou, and so this is the Lanzhou, and sorry, this is the Lanzhou, right? So the gun armor is slightly better than the Lanzhou, and the side armor is slightly worse. So this is 100. Lanzhou is about 115. I mean, neither of them are gonna save you, but at least it has a Lanzhou has slightly better armor. So Lazo has more guns with a better reload, probably better shell arc, but the armor pen for the HE is only 25 versus Lanzhou is 30, right? So that slight difference there um, can make or break between like whether you can pen the deck armors for some of the ships or not. Um, Overall, I think if you like long range fire starter, you should get a ship. Um, and if you look at the event pass, it also has, let's see here, so 1, 2, 3. So it also gave you 15 extra center gift containers, which I would say combine the value between this and the ship, then can justify getting the secondary line. But if you get a Lazo and you really feel you don't like Lazo very much, Lanzhou is not going to give you anything extra or significantly better experience. But the one way to think about this is this ship probably will become one of those like a tier 7 container ships in the kind of tier 7 container and also in next year's Christmas crate ship list. So if you don't get it right now, that will just be another ship you can draw from the center container next year. And what that means is if you want like a higher tier ships, like tier 8 or tier 9, this ship, not having this ship will just increase your chance of getting a low tier ship next year and reduce your chance for getting a higher tier ship from your center containers. Then just another way of looking at it. But overall, I would say, yeah, I would recommend this ship. I had a good experience in the last game as a kind of a, a kiting a fire starter that leverage fights at like mid to long range. The ship certainly cannot tank very well at close range, so keep that in mind. Um, that's all my reviews. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next game. Bye bye.